Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be playing a game that's coming out today. It's called Cossacks III. First of all, I apologize to everybody out there if it sounds like I'm dying. I've got a really weird kind of sickness that's been going on for a bit, so I didn't want to not record a video, but at the same time I'm kind of tempted to not publish this because, again, I sound terrible. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is the Historical Gamer once again, and Cossacks III is a new game that's coming out. It's published and developed by GSC Games, which is a Ukrainian game studio, I believe, and is a recreation of the 2001 classic Cossacks. That game was a real-time simulation which focused on the conflicts which predominantly involved the Cossacks in the 17th and 18th century. There was then later a sequel in 2005, which was much less critically acclaimed, which focused on the Napoleonic Wars. This game is a recreation of the first Cossacks, so it focuses on the 17th and 18th century. The game, at the time of this recording, was not yet launched, so that's why you're seeing that multiplayer error where the game does include multiplayer. It does include a random map generator. It even includes a scenario or a battle editor where you can create kind of your own map, if you will. But as far as the game's concerned, it comes out today, and it's a real-time simulation that recreates the first of the Cossacks games. In this video, I'm going to be playing a campaign battle, so you can see here there are actually numerous different campaigns. I'm going to be playing on normal difficulty. There are 4 levels of difficulty: normal, hard, very hard, and impossible. Normal is basically the easy. They don't have an easy, so there's that. And then it looks like there's about 5, excluding the tutorial, there's about 5 different campaigns that you can choose from, which have multiple different missions. Anything from playing with battles with the Holy Roman Empire, to fighting during the English Civil War, to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Cossacks were involved in conflicts throughout all of Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries. They became feared by many folks in Europe for their ferocious fighting styles. They were a peoples which made up parts of Ukraine and Russia, and were slowly integrated into Russia as the Russian Empire began to expand. But they had also at one time had a independent, semi-democratic military regime, which their ruling government had until the Russians, supplanted them. In this campaign that we're playing as, you can see here looks like there's 5 different missions that you can play in the campaign. The first one is called Disrupting Enemy Schemes, and we are a young scion of a princely house. Back in our day, we aspired to serve the King of France and asked him for a regiment or even a company to command, but the king refused you, his words being, "The request is humble enough, but the one requesting is not." Wow, that's kind of offensive. Anyway, so you are declined for command of a regiment by the King of France. You are given a regiment by the Holy Roman Empire, and you are in the process of fighting against the Ottomans, who are retreating after the failed siege of Vienna, and they are withdrawing, and your goal is to defeat their rear guard before they can reform and launch a counter-offensive. So the historical Battle of Vienna occurred, and our role in this is commanding a regiment as we chase down the Ottoman forces as they withdraw out of Austria. It's also worth calling out that Cossacks' game engine spurred the American Conquest series, which used the same game engine, which seemed to me to be a little bit more focused on real-time combat simulations and sort of colonial America than this game, which seems to be a little bit more real-time strategy in the traditional sense of building units and bases and things like that. So as you can see here, we get this little welcome greeting. We've got a regiment at our command. We can use this town's arsenals to build up our own military. Just sort of a generic first mission, if you will. We start with a command of 1. That's the horseman with the yellow shield above him. And we start with a map on the lower right with very limited information. There is a blacksmith, which we can use to upgrade weapons. If we choose to do that. And again, that costs gold. You can see up in the top of the map, you've got wood, you've got grain, you've got looks like iron, I'm assuming, and gold, and other kind of stone and coal. So there's different resources that you need in order to build units or upgrade things. You can upgrade your weapons via blacksmith. You can build troops via the armory. There's a cavalry barracks that you can train horsemen in, the stable there. And you can also train your troops as well. That's one thing that's interesting here is the game gives you the option of expending some resources to train your soldiers, which may improve their combat statistics. You can see here that at the moment we only have command of this one horseman, a cuirassier of Austria, which is who we are. I suppose we're a Cossack in command of some Austrians. And then the rest of these troops on the map here appear to be in the control of the Austrians, although we can build our own troops, so we have command of these buildings to build some additional troops. So we've got a few different options between pikemen, roundiers, and round shears and musketmen. Musketmen, obviously, in this age, fire really slow reloading weapons, but they're ranged weapons. Kind of think of them like heavily armored archers. You've got the round shears, which are kind of general purpose infantry with a sword, but not particularly strong on the defensive. And then you've also got pikemen, which are ideal against infantry, ideal against cavalry, but not as well-rounded, if you will, as the round shears. As you can see here, these soldiers are being built, and they're coming out in red, so that means they're our color, they're our team. So on the bottom right of the map, you can see, or bottom right of the screen, you can see there are 3 different kingdoms in this particular battle. There's the historical gamer, which is me. There's the local population, which is the Austrians, and there are the Turkish, which are the enemy. You can see they have 323 units, at least, or maybe not units, but power, and we have 26. You can see here that different prompts occur as we kind of move around the map. We're being charged with liberating a town to the east, which has now appeared on the lower right-hand navigation map there. As we kind of pan over, you'll see there is a town over here. This is a very RTS-y game in a very traditional sense. So one of the things that really set the original Cossacks game apart from the other games of the time, so Cossacks I came out in 2001, maybe the zenith. I'm not really that in tune with kind of the zenith of RTS gameplay, but certainly back in an age where RTS games were much more common in terms of the mainstream. You had things like Age of Empires. I don't know if Empire Earth had come out yet, or if Rise of Nations had come out yet, but there were a lot of RTSs in the mainstream back then. You'd go into your local Best Buy or electronic shop, computer shop, and you'd find a lot of RTSs. And today, that's not really the case anymore. But when this game came out, when Cossacks I came out, that was the case. Now, Cossacks I was interesting. You'll notice on the top left of the screen here, there's a 24 out of 300. That means we have 24 units out of a maximum of 300. That's quite a few units, the ability to have 300 units on map. Now, today, with today's processing power, that's a given. But back during the time that Age of Empires was big and Rise of Nations was big, back during this time in the early 2000s, that wasn't as common. I think if my memory serves me right, Age of Empires 1 had a 75-man unit limit. I believe, if not Age of Empires 1, then certainly Age of Empires 2 had, somewhere between a 75 to 100-man limit. Cossacks was different because it increased the size of the forces involved. That was really its shtick. I mean, it had like 8 or 9 different nations you could play as, 100 different unit types, multiple campaigns and missions and all of that. But the real piece that set Cossacks apart was these large tactical battles that you could fight out with these armies that you would build on the map. And the American Conquest series kind of adopted that as well, although they went more in terms of the large tactical battles where you have 300, 400, even 600 units on the map. I don't remember there being much base building, although I haven't played the games a ton. I did kind of poke around at them, and I don't remember those games having much in the way of base building. This I haven't seen in my very limited exposure. This is a very first take video, very much an initial impressions video, and I'm hardly an RTS expert. But this game feels more in the build an army and then fight with it vein. So it's not quite as tactical driven as the original as the American Conquest series was. It may be more in tune again with Cossacks I, which is what this game is. So I've already mentioned a couple of times, but this is a recreation of the original Cossacks I. It's basically, let's modernize it, let's re-release it as a modern game today, 15 years after its original launch. I think the one piece that really strikes me as different than the traditional RTS, though, is when you're building those units. You've seen a few times on the screen there, when you're building those units, you actually have multiple options. I know I've already mentioned it, but as far as the different, not necessarily options for the soldiers here, because you can see there's different stances at the bottom of the map, but in terms of the actual, when you're building them, you click there, you see there's a shield, there's a cutlass, and those represent different training regimens that will improve the quality of your soldiers that you build at this barracks. I believe is how it works. It's not entirely clear, but it makes it look like, you kind of spend this money, you upgrade this facility, and then it will, cost you something and improve the quality. They're basically buffs. And that's kind of neat because it's this idea of, like, let's improve the quality of the training of the soldiers that we raise here. And that seems appropriate for a game that's trying to focus on real combat. Now, obviously, this is an RTS. There's not, what I've seen so far is there's not a ton in the way of actual tactics, but it's still, well, I shouldn't say tactics, but it's not, the traditional, all right, hit them on the left flank type deal. And you can see there I just improved our forge, so it makes our sabers and broadswords better. But just seems appropriate for a game that's trying to focus on kind of tactical combat, even if it's not the really military level tactics, I suppose. I hope this is all making sense to you guys. I'm sorry, like I said, I'm not feeling terribly well, and maybe I shouldn't be recording this, but I did want to get this in. The developers of Cossacks III were kind enough to provide a review copy for me ahead of the launch, and that's what I'm playing right now. So, full disclosure, this game was provided to me by the developers, which is all the more appreciated because I'm not usually a huge RTS player. I don't feel like RTSs are really out there that much, but this is very much feels like a blast from the past, but upgraded from modern machines and visuals and all of that. So far my initial impressions is relatively positive, although these kind of games, one thing you will notice as we play through here, these kind of games tend to have a really slow uptick. So, we start with nothing, we build a whole bunch, and then we go run around a map, wait for everything to get in position, and fight. So it's not exactly a bam, 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 you're in the middle of a ton of fights right away, or, you've already got your army and now it's a matter of maneuver and then fighting. It's very much all right, well, how do you want to structure your army? Let's go about building it, and okay, we got to make the right decisions there, and then, okay, let's go ahead and, move onto the map and find the right place to attack. But because it's also a campaign battle that I'm fighting, that also mixes in with the, here's what you're actually supposed to do, unlike with like a multiplayer battle versus a person, where it might be, like in StarCraft, where it's very important, how you perform early and kind of your, I don't know, clicks per second or whatever, but, how the early game determines a lot going in. This is more freeform because this is a campaign that, I can kind of take in my own leisure. It doesn't seem like there's any real time limit or restrictions or anything like that as I build my force up, which is actually pleasant. I enjoy not being stressed about how quickly things are occurring, but and just kind of being able to play at leisure here. You'll see I went ahead and I'm engaging the Turks, so their soldiers are in this village that I've been commanded to liberate, and it's mentioning that there is a ferry that is southwest of our current location that the Turks are fleeing to. So we come upon the Turks, and rather than fight us, they've decided to run. Which is cowardly of them, but we're not going to catch them probably. It does look like they left two guys behind as a rear guard, and our musketmen took them out with great skill and accuracy, so at least we reduced their numbers somewhat. Meanwhile, I sent my horses on a chase of the enemy as they run away. You can kind of glimpse them there at the edge of the map. It looks like they're retreating to the seaport, at least where there's a boat, but it doesn't look like there's any chance in hell that I will catch them. Poor job by me. My forces got really spread out, and I didn't do a very good job of keeping tabs on them all that well. But again, continuing to race south. I don't really want to engage all of these troops down here. It looks like they've got quite a few more, and frankly, I'm not ready to fight those guys. So I guess we're just going to have to wait. You can see our objectives on the top left of the screen. Liberate the peasants by crossing the river, or by the river crossing. You notice there were some blue peasants over there by the Turks that are over by that seaport that I just saw. Those are friendly Austrian peasants that our goal is to liberate. So I'm going to bring my force down in en masse and bring them, with all these troops that I fortuitously decided to start building before we even knew that this spot on the map was going to be more heavily defended. I've got quite a few troops ready, so I think I will move them south and hopefully storm and crush these guys while liberating the peasants that are kind of covered up right now by the fog of war. It does look like the enemy has 3 ships over here as well. I don't know if they shoot back or anything like that, but I think we need to focus more on killing these land folks. We can always retreat from the ships if we have to. Looks like they've got some horsemen, some horsemen hidden in the woods. They've got some janissaries, which I believe are like our musketmen, and then they have some infantrymen, which look like they have some bladed edge weapons. In addition, it looks like this town hasn't been fully liberated because we don't have full line of sight over it. So I'm going to drag a few soldiers here over to the right and kind of see if I need to... I'm seeing kind of on this map, there's 2 orange icons. I don't know if they're buildings or people over here that maybe we need to kill or liberate. So we'll detach a few soldiers here as they kind of swing east across through the grain. That's something that's always really visually appealing to me, is watching soldiers walk through, chest-high grain. It feels very... old-timey combat, whether it's Civil War combat, medieval combat. The idea of seeing those soldiers cross through freshly laid agriculture, or not freshly laid, but ready to be harvested agriculture. I don't know, it just oddly enough has some sort of odd appeal to it. And that's reminding me of a game, I can't remember if it's Caesar, where you used to have to send people out for harvest and... Oh, no, I'm thinking of Stronghold. Okay, never mind. Sorry, guys. Stronghold, yay! Another interesting real-time strategy. Actually, Stronghold I really got into. Never really got into most RTSs, but played quite a bit of Stronghold back in the day, in addition to some Empire Earth. And a little bit of Rise of Nations. I guess I played them a little bit, just not terribly consistently. There you can see that windmill changed from orange to red, so you can see that the enemy had held that building, but now we've liberated it, and it obviously has grain that it produces. In order to actually add that grain to our stockpiles, what we would need to do is put some peasants in the field to work that grain. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to send our soldiers forward here. We're going to send our roundheaus. Oh, god damn it. It looks like they're trying to escape again. So very much a rearguard action where it looks like the enemy is continuing to try and retreat from us. There's no way in hell we're going to get them before they get on those boats, but it does look like a sizable portion of the Austrian troops have decided to engage us. You can see there are some soldiers with muskets. There's some infantrymen and some horsemen. They've also looks like they've got some kind of equivalent of horse archers. So you see our soldiers charging into the breach, our musketmen firing. Now, as is the case with many RTSs, it doesn't appear that we have to worry about friendly fire. Our musketmen and our dragoons can fire their muskets directly into the enemy with our troops right on top of them with no apparent ill effects. Their horsemen are kind of trying to run a little bit. Their musketmen are annoying, but we've got them heavily outnumbered here. So while the enemy is fleeing, and it doesn't seem like we'll probably be able to stop that, it does seem to me likely... okay, and we've also got some peasants that are now liberated and under our command. So this is very much an opening scenario in one of these kind of games where the scenario just steadily builds its scale and scope as you accomplish minor small objectives. You start with literally one guy, and now we have over 163 units at our command, as well as the ability to do buildings as well, I think. I don't know how to construct buildings, but at least operate the existing ones. You can also see on the very bottom part of the map now, we see an enemy fortress. It looks like that convoy, which sailed out of our grasp, is heading south, and our objective is to intercept the Turkish wagon train. I don't think that will happen before they reach their fort, given we don't have anyone on any boats right now, and the enemy just has to go here, it looks like, to this fortress, it would appear, where they have some troops and some fortified walls. Anyway, so we'll get our troops over there along the coastline and ready to, do something. I'm not sure what yet, but we've still got quite a few troops coming in. We engaged before anywhere near the majority of our forces were ready. We sent the peasants out to this village that we just liberated, and what we can do is we can go ahead and we can put some of them to work in the fields to start producing some grain for us, so our stockpiles can start going up. Now, in this scenario, and you can see up there on the top now, there's a little parentheses 8, which is showing food. I don't know if that's consumption or production, but showing food. We're also going to be able to build a mine over here to start producing some resources, and then we'll send some other people here into the fields to produce some food. So again, slowly building the scope into just a standard base builder RTS, although thus far without any base building. Still interestingly done, well done, enjoyable thus far, and an interesting sort of historical look or simulation of kind of some conflicts that I don't think get a lot of attention by most people here. We'll go ahead and liberate these buildings, and then, yeah. Those guys look weird. They don't look Austrian. But anyway. So again, continuing to gather and marshal our forces on this side of the river, and then maybe to go attack this fortress once we've done that. I'm not quite sure how to attack it, though, because they've got walls all the way around it. And to my knowledge, we don't have any siege equipment. I didn't see any options to build any siege equipment there. You can see we've got some people in the mines. We can give peasants different orders, so we can have them build a academy. So there is base building. We can have them build an academy, a barracks, a stable. We have a whole bunch of options here. I don't see anything, however, that intuitively would build siege equipment. I don't see anything here in the stable for siege equipment and the barracks for siege equipment. So it doesn't look like there's anything easily built for us that would reduce these walls, at least not that I'm seeing, although now that we did do that blacksmith upgrade, you see we've got a few more types of soldiers here that theoretically could be built, although they're grayed out now, so I'm not sure what requirements we're missing to build them, but it does look like our building queue has increased as well. Still quite a bit of the map is also covered up at the moment, so we don't see everything as we put that peasant back in the mine. Get back to work! I'm not quite sure there. You can see our food stockpile is draining as we produce equipment. But we'll go ahead and we'll get all of these soldiers as well. We're going to marshal our forces, all 199 of our men. And it looks like also as we've expanded and gotten more buildings, we can increase the size of our forces. So again, that's a very RTS thing. You have a certain number of houses, which gives you a certain max population cap. Again, I believe Age of Empires used to be around 75. Even with all the max houses building up your capacity. This is expanded all the way out to 405, and if my memory serves me right, when I was playing American Conquest, which is built on the same engine, you could get up to over 600 units in a single battle. So not the most user-friendly way to command a vast sum of troops, but still, the ability to see tons and tons of little pixels all over the map is kind of neat. As this ship won't drop its drawbridge. As I was playing around with this, I didn't realize you have to put it up and the bridge comes down and the men kind of go on. But no matter, I'm going to ignore that here shortly. I did record part of this separate from the audio recording. So as you watch me fiddle around and fumble around with it, it's not as complicated as I made it look. You can just put it up on a friendly beach over here, and then its bridge will drop automatically, and you can throw up to 80 units on board the ship, which all you are trying to do is cross a very narrow river, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to give up on that shortly, and let's see here. Try and see, I guess we'll see what... we know the enemy has a fortress here, but there's still quite a bit of map not explored or exposed yet. So I think what I'll want to do is I want to explore east a little bit once these troops all arrive. and then I can drive them east. Also, the performance seems pretty good. I will call one other thing out that the developers did want me to make everyone aware of, and that is the fact that this is kind of a beta version of the game. So the game launches today, but the version I'm playing is not the launched version, so there will be some enhancements to sprites and things like that. So just be aware of that. Additionally, I'm just going to kind of go on a sidebar here for a moment or two. So apologies for that in advance, but I'm thinking this might be an interesting game to live stream. It's not, I don't know a ton about the period, so I know a lot of my streams I like to, or not even just streams, but just my videos, I like to kind of talk about history and kind of how the game, the events in the game are, talking about relevant historical events. I will admit I'd have to do a little bit of digging to kind of get up to speed on that, but I did think it might be a fun game to live stream. To kind of just kind of play through it. At least the campaign doesn't feel so frantic and hectic. And again, I'm playing the first scenario, so I may be very wrong here. But the campaign doesn't feel so hectic that it would be impossible for someone to play through and kind of talk at the same time here. So it might be something I'm looking at doing. Additionally, one other piece that I just wanted to make people aware of is the second episode of the Single Malt Strategy podcast went up last Monday. There will be no podcast this Monday. Remember, it is an every other week production, so it's a bi-weekly production. So this coming Monday, nothing, or well, not this coming Monday, yesterday there was nothing, and the following Monday hopefully there will be something, assuming I'm feeling better and up to recording something. So you can see here the enemy has another fortress further north now, so the enemy has quite a few fortresses. We've got the one kind of small one here that we can't assail because we have no siege fortifications, and then we've got what looks like another large one if we move up north here, a very well-sited one on top of a cliff with towers and support and quite a few enemy troops supporting it. So this could be quite a challenge. I don't think we quite have the manpower to deal with this. Not only do we not have the manpower, we don't have the equipment as our infantry slowly starts to come up. And we are under fire! So the enemy towers positioned have attacked us, and some enemy horsemen have come out to assail us. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to engage them with our dragoons and our cavalry. We're going to go ahead and charge and try and reduce their numbers a bit here. We're out now. Oh, no. So remember how there was that one guy with a little shield above his head that was orange? Apparently in Cossacks III, you are a actual character in the map, so you can die as well, which is kind of neat. Reminds me kind of Scourge of War. But with that being said, guys, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut off the video here. My miserable failure notwithstanding, the game is interesting. It appeals to me. I'd like to play it a little bit more. I'm interested in sharing it with you guys a little bit more, and I'm interested in what you guys have to say about that, if that's something you think would be interesting. Let me know in the comment section, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying Cossacks III, an interesting RTS. I don't play a ton of RTSs, but it's certainly intriguing, and I'd like to play it a little bit more. So until next time, guys, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.